Midnight hangs over Baghdad, sirens clawing through the smoky sky. Searchlights rake clouds, frightened windows blink out. Viewers, you enter a city holding its breath, moments before a storm of steel challenges. Saddam Hussein's boasts, American promises, and the fragile idea of controlled warfare. Imagine watching from your living room, continents away. Green night vision flares on television screens, explosions blooming like ghostly flowers. For the first time, a major war unfolds live, transforming distant artillery into a hypnotic, unsettling show that blurs news, entertainment, and moral distance. For President George Bush, the crisis began when Iraq swallowed Kuwait the previous summer. Sanctions, ultimatums, and last-minute diplomacy failed. Now he weighs two grim paths: unleash overwhelming force, or accept Saddam's aggression as a precedent that might unravel the entire Gulf order. General Norman Schwarzkopf stands in Riyadh over a table crowded with maps, colored pins stabbing airfields, radars, armored divisions. His plan demands speed, surprise, near-perfect coordination. If the opening blows miss or hesitate, Iraqi defenses could harden into a brutal shell around occupied Kuwait. I sit in a dim briefing room, a young American pilot, helmet cradled between jittering knees. The colonel's red pointer circles bunkers and runways. He finishes quietly. Once you cross that border, there is no turning back. My heartbeat drowns the projector's hum. The code name sounds almost poetic. Desert Storm. Beneath it, the largest air campaign since the Second World War takes shape. Hundreds of aircraft will lift before dawn, each second scheduled, intended to blind, deafen, and paralyze Saddam's forces before many soldiers glimpse an enemy. Before engines roar, an invisible battle begins. Satellites whisper coordinates, stealth aircraft creep forward, electronic jammers sharpen their fangs. The goal is ruthless yet selective. Erase Iraqi eyes and ears, not every building. War planners dream of an operation that feels more surgical than annihilating. Viewers, remember, Iraq fields a massive, battle-hardened army after years against Iran, dug into fortified lines across Kuwait. Many commentators predict horrendous casualties if coalition troops assault directly. Desert Storm's architects intend to rewrite those predictions from the sky, long before bayonets ever cross sand. In Baghdad, little Amal curls beside her grandmother in a basement smelling of dust and kerosene. Radios mutter contradictory rumors. She only understands that foreign planes are coming, and adult sentences are suddenly shorter, sharper, as if words themselves might attract shrapnel. Her father once believed Saddam's defiance defended Iraqi dignity. While taping plastic over rattling windows, he wonders whether that pride simply painted a bullseye on his children. Internally, he wrestles, cling to patriotic loyalty, or admit the regime gambled with lives it cannot repay. Coalition air crews cross the tarmac, boots grinding gravel. Some trade sarcastic jokes, others move in tense silence. Helmet visors mirror runway lights, masking fear. Behind technical terms like target package lies a harsher translation. Each route, each coordinate, might become someone's final view of Earth. From your couch, glowing maps and tidy graphics make the conflict resemble a strategy game. Reporters speak briskly about sorties, tonnage, and effectiveness. Yet, every cheerful arrow conceals pilots' pulse rates, slammed car doors, desperate phone calls, and ordinary households bracing for their roofs to shudder. High above, stealth bombers glide like obsidian kites, shaped by secret mathematics to slip through radar shadows. Their payloads are crafted for nerve centers, command bunkers, communication hubs, air defense nodes. The intention is strikingly modern: break the nervous system, not simply pound the flesh. Saddam Hussein sits in a fortified bunker, television screens flickering with propaganda videos and maps. Advisors present partial reports, careful not to anger him. Offered a final chance to leave Kuwait, he refuses. In his calculus, mere survival against foreign pressure would equal glorious victory. Captain Hassan, an Iraqi air defense officer, listens to clipped orders through his headset. He fears coalition air power. He fears Saddam's security men more. Refusing to fire could mean prison or execution. Firing exposes his battery to guided missiles. Every command now feels like a trap. As the launch order streaks through encrypted channels, a strange stillness settles. Pilots already strapped in stare at dark canopies. Viewers, pivotal moments in history, often resemble this quiet. A handful of breaths, a finger hovering over a switch, before the horizon changes permanently. Cruise missiles leap from warships in the Gulf, pillars of fire carving the night. Then they crouch low, hugging waves, desert, and river valleys, guided by maps etched into circuitry. Their first tasks are surgical: silence radars, sever communication lines, confuse Iraqi commanders before dawn. From my cockpit, desert dunes slide beneath green instrument glow. Radio chatter snaps with coded confirmations. Training steadies my hands, yet an intrusive thought persists. Beyond those coordinates live janitors, night watchmen, cleaners who never wrote speeches about Kuwait, but will hear my bombs. In Baghdad, televisions hiss, flicker, then vanish into blackness. Generators cough reluctant light back into stairwells. Anti-aircraft guns vomit streaks of orange across the sky, many firing blindly. Drivers abandon cars in intersections, flattening themselves beside concrete planters as the city's bravado evaporates into panic. Coalition commanders insist their target lists are constrained. Bridges, refineries, and power plants are debated, categorized, prioritized. The stated aim is not pulverizing Iraq, but snapping its military spine while leaving enough infrastructure to support recovery. Inside planning rooms, spreadsheets wrestle constantly with the raw physics of explosives. For those beneath the bombs, debates feel abstract. Layla, a hospital nurse, sprints stretchers through dim corridors as windows jump with each distant strike. She wonders whether foreign planners understand they are driving families into cramped shelters, or see only sterile dots labeled civilian risk. Viewers' Desert Storm is not solely American. It is a broad coalition: Saudi, Kuwaiti, British, French, and others flying, driving, staffing operating rooms. Their joint presence signals a principle beyond oil contracts. Annexing a smaller neighbor by force will draw collective retaliation in this late 20th century order. Yet, solidarity hides private misgivings. A Saudi conscript guarding a runway studies unfamiliar Western aircraft deploying from his homeland. He obeys his king, yet worries the presence of foreign armies on sacred soil will stir radicals later. Security today could become fuel for tomorrow's fury. Deep underground, coalition analysts watch surveillance feeds. Grainy imagery shows runways blooming into charred craters, radar dishes folding, ammunition bunkers erupting like volcanic domes. Symbols representing Iraqi batteries wink off the screens. There are muted cheers, yet no one pretends this glowing room captures war's full cost. Anchors narrate with crisp enthusiasm. Phrases like surgical strike, air superiority, and limited collateral damage dominate broadcasts. The vocabulary soothes viewers, sanding rough edges off reality. When words grow too clean, explosions risk feeling like abstractions, rather than instances of steel meeting human bone and memory. Iraqi state television counters with defiance. Newsreaders proclaim imaginary victories, insist enemy planes fall in droves. Amal's family clings to each boast like a life raft. In their living room, hope fuses with propaganda until truth becomes another casualty, buried beneath patriotic slogans and censored casualty lists. Across the ocean, an American mother in Kansas keeps the television volume low near midnight. Her son serves somewhere in the Persian Gulf. She studies arrows on maps, mentally tracing which colored unit might be his, realizing every triumphant briefing might still conceal personal disaster. Inside, Iraqi command centers, confusion snowballs. Phone lines crackle, then die. Backup radios suffer interference. Headquarters lose contact with brigades. Officers bark contradictory orders, uncertain who remains functional. Within hours, that vaunted army, measured once by sheer numbers, begins stumbling blind, groping through a technologically engineered night. Captain Hassan stares at radar screens dissolving into static. He knows coalition jets. Patrol overhead, yet sees only emptiness. Fire missiles blindly, risk hitting civilian airliners or friendly units. Hold fire, and superior officers may brand him coward. Every second lengthens his private ethical stalemate. Earlier patience now becomes part of the narrative. Coalition leaders point to months of ultimatums and rejected withdrawal offers, arguing responsibility lies with Saddam. Viewers are encouraged to interpret Desert Storm less as conquest than as enforcement, an armed reminder that international resolutions, if ignored, sometimes acquire warheads. Yet Iraqi conscripts along the Kuwaiti front rarely ponder resolutions. They shiver in trenches, boots caked with salt sand, wearing aging gear. Rumors describe invisible jets and devastating bombs. Many quietly hope for chances to surrender quickly, preferring captivity under strangers to martyrdom for distrusted officers. From today's vantage point, that January night might resemble a clean turning point. In truth, it opened a long corridor of bombings, oil spills, infrastructure collapse, and moral argument. Viewers, beginnings often feel decisive. Consequences spread slowly, like smoke threading into lungs long after explosions fade. I remember locking onto a communication tower near Baghdad's outskirts. Checklist phrases marched through my head, comforting in their predictability. As the bomb released, an image forced itself forward, workers climbing that structure yesterday, trading jokes about pay envelopes while tightening bolts against desert wind. Amal presses her hands over her ears as booms creep closer. Her grandmother murmurs stories about earlier wars, British bombardments, toppled monarchs, shifting flags. The child realizes this night is another chapter in a long saga where powerful strangers fight, while families downstairs simply endure. Iraqi gunners finally score occasional hits. A coalition aircraft blossoms into flames, spiraling downward outside the city. A tiny parachute pops open against burning clouds. For a brief moment, enemies on both sides share an instinctive wish. Let that unknown airman survive, despite everything else burning. Coalition leaders highlight a central goal: liberating Kuwait. Iraq's annexation, reports of executions, and looted neighborhoods form the moral backbone of speeches. Whenever skeptics mention oil, bases, or prestige, generals and diplomats return to images of occupied streets. Insisting Desert Storm began with a smaller nation's silenced sovereignty. Inside Kuwait City, schoolteacher Nora listens to distant rumbling and whispers, "Maybe they are closer." Liberation tempts and terrifies her. Iraqi forces could retaliate savagely before retreating. Collaborators might face mob justice afterward. She hides names in notebooks, fearing both occupying security agents and future avengers. Desert Storm also previews new doctrines. American officers speak of integrated command, networks, near real-time targeting, and overwhelming shock and awe, even before that phrase becomes famous later. The strategy is psychological. Convince Iraqi soldiers resistance is hopeless before most can even fire directly on coalition troops. Shock travels homeward too. Veterans of earlier wars watch stunned as infrastructure disintegrates on live television. A retired Second World War pilot mutters that combat now seems more like remote engineering. Screens replacing cockpit windows. Coordinates replacing dogfights. Victory tallied by system failures rather than visible enemy faces. Night after night, air raids broaden. Electrical grids falter, rail lines twist. Ammunition dumps detonate in towering rivers of sparks. War rooms debate each category of target, chasing an elusive balance where Saddam's grip weakens decisively. Yet Iraqi society does not disintegrate into ungovernable humanitarian catastrophe. Within Saddam's inner circle, paranoia metastasizes. Intelligence chiefs hunt imagined traitors, blaming sabotage rather than coalition technology for failures. Some generals toy silently with treasonous thoughts, endure bombardment for a leader who miscalculated disastrously, or attempt a coup under omnipresent surveillance, risking execution before changing anything. Captain Hassan hears rumors about plotters, but trusts none. He knows the regime punishes doubt almost as harshly as desertion. His internal conflict widens beyond tonight. If Saddam falls, collaborators might be purged. If Saddam survives, officers who faltered could still be shot. Every future seems dangerous. From decades' distance, the campaign can appear swift and almost clinical. That perception owes much to selected archival clips and confident statistics. On the ground, Desert Storm felt jagged. Burning oil wells, uprooted families, sudden amputations, and exhausted doctors improvising surgery by flashlight as generators coughed and died. I recall debriefings where pilots asked intelligence officers about neighborhoods near designated facilities. Responses came in measured tones, buffer zones, low probability of civilians. Even when reassurance sounded firm, some of us replayed footage privately, haunted by shapes at frame edges that reports dismissed as irrelevant clutter. As weeks pass, coalition commanders pivot toward ground operations. Air superiority seems overwhelming, yet assaulting entrenched positions in Kuwait and southern Iraq still promises bloodshed. Planners juggle a grim equation: extend bombing to weaken defenders further, or move now to end the conflict before global patience erodes. In frontline trenches, Iraqi soldiers quietly stash pieces of white cloth. Officers threaten immediate execution for desertion, but morale is crumbling under constant thunder. Desert Storm's unseen pressure reshapes divisions that once paraded confidently into jittery clusters of men, dreaming not of glory, only survival. Viewers, this moment exposes a troubling paradox. The same precision and advanced planning that spare many civilians also make war appear temptingly manageable. When destruction looks efficient and distant, leaders elsewhere may treat military intervention as a cleaner option, forgetting every explosion still echoes inside human skulls. Kuwait City shifts subtly. Iraqi patrols grow thinner, uniforms dirtier, commands more frantic. Noura senses something breaking. She unearths a hidden Kuwaiti flag, but hesitates to display it. Too early could mean execution. Too late might let the instant of reclaimed identity pass without her voice. In Washington, advisors crowd around situation maps. They brief President Bush on casualty estimates, Arab coalition sensitivities, and the risks of driving all the way to Baghdad. Victory must be convincing, yet not destabilizing. Each path glittering on the map seems edged with unforeseen consequences. Back in Baghdad, Iraqi broadcasts insist enemy losses are devastating, infrastructure barely scratched. Amal's father secretly tunes a smuggled shortwave radio and hears very different descriptions. His dilemma: protect his children with comforting lies, or tell them their leaders cannot shield them from the storm overhead. When the coalition finally launches its ground assault, tanks spear forward under curtains of dust. Mine plows scrape paths, helicopters leapfrog overhead. Many Iraqi units surrender almost immediately, emerging with raised hands. The speed of collapse surprises even optimistic officers who had trusted an overwhelming technological advantage. Captured conscripts describe hunger, relentless bombing, and resentment toward privileged inner circle officers. They ask stunned questions about coalition technology, marveling at night vision gear, navigation devices, and rations. For them, Desert Storm never felt like a grand clash of civilizations, only a calamity ordered by distant, insulated leaders. Among coalition soldiers, elation mingles with discomfort. A young Marine scribbles in his journal, "It felt like fighting an opponent already broken." Relieved to be alive, he nonetheless wonders what this kind of lopsided victory will teach politicians about using force in future crises. Television highlights jubilant images, Kuwaitis kissing flags, tearing down Saddam's portraits, welcoming liberating troops with flowers. Cameras rarely linger on the blasted highway of death, where retreating Iraqi columns lie shredded, vehicles scorched, bodies scattered. That haunting road raises questions about necessity, mercy, and vengeance from the air. Debate ignites around that infernal stretch of asphalt. Supporters argue the strikes prevented regrouping and further atrocities. Critics see punishment of a fleeing force already beaten. Lawyers, ethicists, and veterans will revisit those frames repeatedly, searching for a moral line drawn somewhere. Amid twisted metal, Noura finally waves her flag from a school rooftop as coalition vehicles enter Kuwait City. She cheers through tears, then counts missing neighbors. Liberation brings parades, yet also shadowy score settling and interrogations. Gratitude toward foreign soldiers coexists uneasily with anger that help arrived only after months of terror. For Amal's family in Baghdad, the ground war feels distant. Bombing eases, but shortages deepen. Electricity flickers, water lines fail, medicines vanish from clinics. When ceasefire rumors circulate, They struggle to understand the words victory and defeat while standing in the same damaged apartment under the same ruler. Leaving the theater, I carry a strange hollowness home. Official briefings emphasize restored sovereignty and limited casualties. Personally, I remember blurred rooftops, distant flashes, unanswered questions about lives beneath crosshairs. Precision, I learned, does not guarantee clean conscience, only narrower blast radiuses around lingering, unmeasurable guilt. President Bush halts the offensive after expelling Iraqi forces from Kuwait, stopping short of Baghdad. Some praise restraint, arguing occupation would fracture alliances and mire troops in urban chaos. Others complain that Saddam's survival leaves unfinished business, a resentment that will later help justify another, bloodier invasion. Viewers, Desert Storm's legacy is layered. Tactical brilliance and coalition unity stand beside prolonged sanctions, crushed uprisings, and a devastated Iraqi middle class. The war seems short on maps, yet its aftershocks shaped extremist movements, regional rivalries, and future interventions that reached into the new century's headlines. Captain Hassan returns to a battered neighborhood. Walls cracked, shops shuttered. Publicly, he repeats official slogans. Privately, he curses leaders who invited catastrophe, then hid underground. His children grow up under sanctions, their childhoods measured by ration lines. For them, the storm's end date feels meaningless. Noura rebuilds her classroom, hanging fresh maps and a Kuwaiti flag beside photographs of destroyed streets. She tells students about occupation and liberation, but also warns that relying entirely on distant protectors is dangerous. Memory, she insists, is another fortress, one that must be guarded more carefully than borders. Amal keeps a childish drawing of searchlights crossing a black sky, hurried crayons unable to capture the noise. Years later, she reflects, leaders argued through microphones. The echo landed in our stairwell. Her memory invites viewers to measure strategy, not only in territory, but bedrooms. From cockpits, war resembled coordinates and glowing symbols. From basements, it sounded like ceiling dust falling into teacups. From presidential offices, it appeared as charts tracking alliances. Desert Storm's truth hides where those perspectives intersect, in the tension between calculated necessity and personal devastation. So, when you rewatch that January coverage, resist seeing only a crisp, triumphant campaign. Listen for overlapping heartbeats, pilots bracing, nurses sprinting, conscripts surrendering, children counting booms. Desert Storm shattered Saddam's defenses, yet also cracked illusions that high-tech warfare could ever remain remote, tidy, or painless.